All right, guys, so we got quite a bit of things to talk about today. The first thing I want to talk about, though, is not related to the Prism shards. The majority of the video will be about the Prism shards, but the first few things I want to talk about is the Deck of Fate event that's going on right now. Make sure you don't do this until tomorrow. I mean, it's getting artifacts and accessories and upgrading artifacts and accessories. So upgrading artifacts is one of the best ways to get CVC points. There's no reason to start this until tomorrow. Another thing, because CVC is tomorrow. Another thing is the Prism shards, okay? Don't open it until tomorrow. This may be a little bit late, but if you can, just wait until tomorrow to actually do it because we also have CVC going on as well. Now, another thing, drop fever is going on. I don't think there's any super raids going on, but if there are super raids going on spiders or any other event during CVC, if you run the super raid with the dungeon, you're only getting points for CVC for one of the runs. So keep that in mind, something that is very important. Now, talking about the Prism shards, this is something that I've seen quite a bit of mixed opinions about. I want to know your guys' opinions before I go over kind of what I've broken down to be the pros and cons and then an unknown, okay? So I don't want to say just yet what I think about this exactly. I just want to provide you guys with what I believe are the pros, what I believe are the cons, and also I want to see what your guys' opinions are. So I've taken a few notes. Let's see. So the first con is there's no void champions. Scrolling through this, there's no voids. That doesn't mean that there's never going to be any void champions, but there's currently no voids listed. Now, I do want to add one that's going to be rares. So this is a con as well. There are rare champions involved. Now, if there were no rare champions involved, this would likely be a much harder shard to get. We do have a 60% chance to pull a rare, but that's definitely going to be a con because most of the rare champions in this faction specifically are basically useless. Useless for most players who are really interested in this probably. Some of the rares are going to be solid in different factions. One of the most important ones is Coldheart, but since there's no voids, she probably won't show up in this, at least not yet. So another con, let's go ahead and pull it down to number 3, is no mercy. Now, this is also something that we don't really know for sure. There may be a mercy system added, but at the current moment in time, there's no mercy system being shown. You can come up here to shard summons, and you can see there's an entire mercy system breakdown here. Now, the actual Prism shards, there's a pretty good chance to actually pull legendary champions, 3%, but with no mercy, you could pull hundreds of shards and never actually get a legendary champion, which is obviously a very bad thing. I did see a lot of people this morning, though, pulling some legendary champions, so it's probably just the, the bias. When you see a lot of stuff happen, you assume it happens more frequently, but hey, 3% chance of pulling legendary, it sounds pretty good, 37% chance to pull an epic. Either way, there's no mercy, so that is definitely a con, a pretty big con. So the next one is limited champs. So Harima is missing. This is just one that I can see right off the bat, but to be honest, there's probably more really solid champions in this Nyresian Union that are missing. We have Trunda in the event. Newt is not in there, but he's a brand new champion. Crizzy's Void. Maybe the number one champion missing is Harima. Now, this is a con in a way, but to be honest, I don't know if it's that big of a con. And I want to talk about that a little bit more later on. Actually, you know what? While we're here, let me go ahead and talk about that. So what I'm seeing looking at these champions, they're majority PvE. Trunda is a PvP champion, but she's using Hydra to do some really fast runs. Geomancer is a PvE champion strictly. All these champions, except for Trunda, maybe Lady Kimmy, are majority PvE champions. I guess Herndig, maybe there's a little bit of a mix. But either way, if Harima was in this, it'll be nice for the players who get lucky and pull her, but the players who would see the biggest benefit from this are the massive whales. Now, the whales are already going to pull those champions like crazy, of course, but if you start adding those top tier meta PvP champions, that could skew things pretty bad. Now, that's just my idea that why the missing champions may not be a complete con, but in general, having some of the champions missing, maybe you're waiting for Rhodos in the Undead faction, the Undead Horde, the Corrupted Alliance. Maybe you're waiting for specifically a Rhodos event. Well, Rhodos probably is not going to be in there because he is a top meta champion. While I would love to have a Rhodos, while I would love to have a higher chance of getting a Rhodos, knowing that this many more players are going to have +1, +2, +3, and +4 Rhodos, it doesn't sound the best in general for the game, but I could definitely be wrong there. So you guys can let me know down below. But that, in my opinion, is kind of a con, kind of a pro, 50-50, I guess. And the next one is Unknown Gathering. So right now, there is one event where you can get these Prism shards. First event may be more easily achieved than future events, of course, right? Maybe this one is super free to play friendly, and the future ones not so much. But right now, the top reward, 6,500 points, which may look like a lot to a lot of players when you first see this, but this is a turn-based tournament, okay? So let's go ahead and give you an example. Let me go ahead and jump in here to Spider Stage 10 Hard and see how many points my Spider Stage 10 Hard team is going to give me. Also, guys, another thing to keep in mind, we have CVC tomorrow. Honestly, if you're planning on playing much raid today, just take the day off. Just go do your clan boss, do your daily stuff, buy your 3v3 tokens before the daily reset so you can use them tomorrow. But really, I wouldn't recommend doing a whole lot today because you have so many ways to get points tomorrow. By the way, tomorrow I'm going to be streaming over here on YouTube, probably around 9 a.m. Eastern time or so. We're going to be doing some nuke testing, maybe some live arena, but it's going to be a good time. Probably going to have some gym giveaways as well, so you definitely want to make sure you stop by there. But as far as this event goes, we're on turn count 7. This Spider tournament gives you points based on your turns taken, as well as actually finishing the stage you're doing. I wish it was a little bit more specific about the turns, like, hey, you get 50 points if you're between turns 11 and 15, but here we go. We got 72 points for 20 energy spent. Let's say I average 72 points each time. We're gonna open up this calculator if I can. So what was it, 6,500? Let's see, I think it was 6,500 for the top thing. I got 72 points for 20 energy spent. So 6,500, yes. So 6,500 divided by 72, it's gonna take me 90 runs. 90 times 20 is gonna be about 1,800 energy. So about 2,000 energy, we'll call it, somewhere around there. With that specific team on Spider Stage 10 Hard, I can fully complete this event for 6,500 points. That doesn't sound awful. It sounds pretty much in line with what it used to be, and I also get all these other rewards along the way. So 6,500 doesn't seem terrible, at least not for the team that I'm running. But right now, like I was saying, the main point of this is unknown gathering, okay? So right now, it may be kind of easy to get, but if you go in the shop, they're not the cheapest, all right? So one pull is 20 shards. Wherever this is at, I don't even know. They have so much stuff now. Gym shop, limited time, it doesn't matter, okay? Let's go ahead and go click here. Crystal offers. So we have a $5 one, 20, so one pull. We have a $20 one, 80, so we get several pulls. And then a 210, we get like a couple bonus shards, basically like 10 bonus, I believe. But $5 for one pull, basically. This is really irrelevant, to be honest, okay? Let me tell you why. If you come into the shop and you click this, okay? So you see these. This ancient shard is $10, all right? The $5 per pull doesn't mean anything whatsoever. That's just Plarium putting that in there for the crazy Krakens who are like, yeah, I'm gonna buy out all these shards. I don't care the price. That's for them, okay? Real players who don't have unlimited money are not gonna be considering majority of the offers that are just, flat rates all the time. This ancient offer is actually pretty good. $1 ancient, this is in line with the actual values of the packs. But you can come down here and see in this mini mix pack, I don't really like this, to be honest, 15 Prism crystals, not even a full pull for $20. There's gonna be packs eventually, just like with the Mortal Soul Stones, the Soul Stones in general, where they're more in line with the actual price they should be. But right now, $5 a pull, it seems more expensive than what I think is gonna be the reality. I'd say the reality is probably gonna be closer to like $2 or $3. Maybe not, it may be more, but I definitely imagine that we're gonna be getting some better deals. So if you're looking to buy this stuff, don't buy it just yet, just give it some time. Look at this, okay? We have the ancient shards already for $10, which is absurd. Hopefully nobody's buying that. One ancient for $10. But then look at this, okay? Single void, $30 for one void. If you were comparing this and like the same mindset between this and the Prism shards, you'd be like, no, there's no way. The void shards never valued at that. Typical value for void shards is like $3 or so, maybe a little bit less if you get a good deal on a good pack. But ultimately, these in-game shops like this that are not discounted or not in a special pack or anything like that, they're just really, I guess, a way for Plarium to be like, oh, this is 50% off or 90% off. This is like to show a discount, when in reality, you shouldn't be buying these, honestly. If you're complaining about this, you should never be buying this, all right? If you are buying it, you should not be complaining about it. So the next point, maybe moving on to the pros now, at least my opinion of the pros. Not yet, actually. We still got a few more cons. The next is the pros. The next con is only usable during active window. Now, this is unknown kind of at this point. So right now we have 1 week and 19 hours until this Prism Shard event is done. The Norwegian summon pool will be moved on to probably a different alliance or faction group pool. Now, this could be wrong. It could be moving on to, say, a specific faction. It could move on to all kinds of different things. But it could also go for a week and then not come back for 2 months. Maybe. Who knows? I mean, that's not necessarily a terrible thing, but it's unknown at this point. Like, is it going to be rotating? Is it going to go Nyresian to Corrupted to Galleon to Tellarians? Who knows? It's kind of a con, but to be honest, it's not really that much. I was kind of squeezing it out when I said it was a con. The only way it would kind of be a con is like if these contributed to Champion Chase and Summon Rush events, which I hope it does. I imagine Champion Chase because it's anything that comes from the portal, but Summon Rush, maybe not. But hopefully it does. That'd be awesome if it actually did. But either way, it could kind of be a con if that was like during a fusion and they didn't have one of these events going and you couldn't use your Prism shards. So kind of a con. Now you can save these for future events. So maybe you want somebody in the Undead Alliance or whatever it may be, save it for that event. You can open up a lot of shards then. So there's no reason to actually rush this. But let's get into some of the pros of this. So got to be fair, got to get some pros and some cons. So some pros, here we go. Better rates than Ancient Shards. All right, I'd say that's pretty fair. I mean, Ancient Shards, compare those. Granted, Ancient Shards are farmable. We know more about those, but as far as the rates go, Ancient's 91.5% chance to give you a rare, 8% in an epic, and 0.5% in a legendary champion. These shards, 3% chance at a legendary, 37% chance at an epic, and 60% chance at a rare. Now, while there is no mercy, there's also not really a mercy for Sacred. There is a mercy for Sacreds, but the mercy doesn't kick in until like 13 shards, I believe. 12 shards with no legendary, and then it doesn't like guarantee you a legendary until like 40 or something, 40 or 50. It's like a crazy high number. So you're going to pull legendary well before that mercy actually guarantees you one. I would compare these shards very similar in the sense that you're probably going to pull a legendary before you get to 200 summons or 100 summons. But hey, you could definitely go that far without pulling a legendary. But compared to Ancients, I think it's fair to say that they're better rates than Ancient Shards, right? I don't think hopefully nobody's going to argue with that. The next thing is already in one event at a fair price. I already went over this, but they are already in the Spider Turn Attack, which I believe is a pretty fair price. And if you pick up the one over here in the top 3 places as well, it's an especially fair price, I think. If you get lucky enough to do it, I probably won't. My group is probably going to go hard, and I'm not going to keep up. But if you're in a group where you can get basically 2 pulls, I'd say it's a pretty reasonable price to actually get these shards. That is 2 pulls, right? It wasn't just 10 Prism crystals. I got to watch out for that. So 20 there, and then 20 there as well. Sweet. That's pretty nice. The next pro is going to be amazing PvE options. So I did talk about that already a little bit. But these champions in here don't seem to be PvP champions necessarily. Like I'm not seeing Harima. There are a few, so it's hard to say it's just PvE. But Trunda, she's not as meta as she was. She's still really good. Herndig, don't really see him too much in higher end PvP. Lady Kimmy, kind of mixed in live arena, but in general, not really seeing her a ton. However, Elva, I use her all the time. I use her in Hydra. I use her for my Ice Golem stage 9 hard team duoing with Artak. Elva's incredible. Brogni is an amazing champion for Clan Boss. We have Geomancer, one of the best epics for a lot of the content in the game. We have Ornn, we have Ruella. All these champions you see in a lot of the top teams. We have Green Warden Ruark, who I've seen in some of the new Shogun Grove teams. A lot of really good champions. Michinaki, can't forget him. We have a lot of really solid champions. I don't see Dudan though. Dudan would be awesome to see in here, but unfortunately, I'm not seeing him with the Sylvan Watchers. So I'm not for sure how they go about picking these champions, but either way, there's some really top tier PvE options for you to actually pull in this. Now, if you get those champions, that's, I guess, up to RNG. But the next pro is high chance at great epics. So there's a 37% chance you're going to pull an epic, and most of these epics, a lot of these epics are very solid for accounts. Cornelia is solid. Geomancer is solid. Burengiri, depending on where your account's at, he can be solid. Misrider Daithi, he can be solid as well. Ruella, Ornn, a lot of these champions, Melga, a lot of these champions, it really depends on where your account's at, okay? It's not fair for me to say, oh, all these epics are useless because I'm not using them. I'm literally using 0 of these epics. Geomancer has basically been retired, except for on my Iron Twins team. Other than that, he's basically been retired. But it's not fair for me to say, oh, these epics are useless just because I'm not using them. These legendaries are not really going to be used by me, but I'm just going to save my shards for a future event because I already have most of these champions. I don't need to pull a dupe. I could maybe get a Trunda, but I'm probably not going to use her. But in general, the epics are very solid for a lot of players, especially if you need some of these game changers, all right? Next pro, saving for specific needs. Now, this will be something we can find out more later on. I'm spoiling some stuff down at the bottom, but If we learn a little bit more about how the champions are determined, you could start saving for, say you wanted a Kymar. Maybe they threw Kymar in. Kymar's a champion who I think could possibly fit in this event. I mean, he's good in PvP, but he's really good in PvE. He's a champion who could be a little bit of a mix. Duchess maybe. Maybe you get some in Demon Spawn. Maybe there's some really good champions there. I mean, if we know the theme is really good PvE champion so far, maybe we do see a Duchess. That'd be crazy. I mean, who knows? Like, the possibilities are endless. We're going to need to have a few more events to actually know what to kind of expect. But I'd say the Corrupted Alliance is one that we could really look out for to being a really solid event, potentially. Or it could be champions like some useless ones, some little less popular champions. Though, to be honest, I'm not really sure who here would be terrible to have. Bloodgorge, maybe not great. Lizardmen, there's a few decent options there. Pythion, I would actually love to have Pythion as well. I'd pull for him. Much more likely in these events actually to buy shards than I would be for Sacred or Ancients, because the chances even in a 10x are extremely, extremely low. And then Talarians, either way, there is a good chance if you save your shards, a future event, if this one's not appealing, a future event will be appealing. So now some unknowns, okay? Unknown 1, possibly worth points. This can possibly be worth points for Champion Chase or Summon Rush events. So far, nothing's been confirmed in the content creator chat, so I can't say whether it is or not, but they always could be, right? They definitely could be. If you guys know if they are, let me know down below, but definitely it could be. So that means that fusions are going to be a little bit easier, but that's back to the first potential con. Will this be active during those fusions? Or will it only be active in the windows where fusions aren't going on? Which, now that I think about that after saying it, that's never, because there's always a fusion going on. Either way, it's kind of an unknown right now. Is it going to be worth it? Is it not? Who really knows? The next thing, this alone would be amazing. And this, I think, can actually make sense. Add it to Hydra. If you put Prism Shards in Hydra, I'm not asking for a full pull each week. I'm just asking for some. If we had some Prism Shards dropping from Hydra, that would make Hydra rewards feel a lot better, in my opinion. Because right now, they're good, all right? They're good, but if you don't need Stone Skin, I've seen some players who don't need Stone Skin, which I think Stone Skin's amazing, especially if you're doing PvP, it's needed. But if you don't need Stone Skin, you get Mortal Soul Stones, so Mortal Soul Stones are a motivator to do it, and the Clan Gold is a motivator to do it. Maybe you don't care about your clan, so Clan XP probably isn't a motivator for you, but having these Prism Shards in Hydra would be amazing. Like, that would make these so much more valuable, but also entice players to do Hydra that much more. And with the new CVC, or the clan versus clan tournament type thing for Hydra, I don't see putting Prism Shards in Hydra that far of a stretch. I don't see it being something that wouldn't happen. It's not a shard, so they never put any shards like Ancients, Voids, or Sacreds in Hydra. I don't think they need to. We get plenty from the clan boss. But having a way to consistently or semi-consistently get some Prism Shards, even if it's, say, 5 per chest on Nightmare, I have no clue. I don't even want to throw numbers out there. But if we could do, say, Nightmare, Brutal, and Hard and get like a couple pulls per week, that'd be pretty sweet. And I don't really think that's too far of a stretch of the imagination either. But guys, that's my opinions on these Prism Shards. That's my ideas as far as saving your stuff for CVC tomorrow. Hopefully you guys can share your thoughts and opinions down below. It's a 18-minute video, definitely longer than I expected it to be. But guys, hopefully you've taken something from this. Maybe you can make your decision on if you think the Prism Shards are good or if they're bad. My opinion, I think they're good. I think they're overall a net positive to the game. I don't see massive downsides. If you're a spender and you're trying to buy them and you're paying for these, I don't think that's the game's problem. I think that may be your problem, to be honest. Like, this is expensive. This is not worth it, in my opinion. But neither is buying $10 Ancient Shards, all right? So maybe we can get them easier in the future. Either way, I like it. I like the system so far, guys. So thank you all very much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you all in the next one.